Tonight on SUTV News, the long-awaited Breonna Taylor officer-involved shooting case has a verdict, and we look into the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All that and more right here on SUTV News. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away last Friday after a battle with metastatic pancreatic cancer. Ginsburg was appointed to the highest court in 1993 by then-President Bill Clinton and served as an icon and a hero in her almost 30 years on the court, being only the second woman to be appointed. Yesterday, Ginsburg was honored at the Supreme Court by all her colleagues, and her casket was visited by thousands, including President Bill Clinton and today by President Trump. SUTV's Megan Talley gives us a look at RBG's nationwide impact.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, most commonly known as RBG, is known for her endless fighting for equal rights for all, especially women and those in the LGBTQ+ community. News of her passing last week sparked numerous rallies and tributes all over the country, from New York City, San Francisco, and of course the nation's capital she served in for 27 years. Lines looped around barricades in the shadow of the nation's capital as thousands paid their respect to the late justice at the Supreme Court steps, including many mothers and their daughters wearing RBG's iconic neck pieces.
This is really important. We try to stay conscious of everything that's happening in our country today, and with all the changes that are taking place, we think it's important to bring them to take part in these momentous occasions, and then hopefully when they're older they can remember these moments and then make better choices for themselves later on.
All Supreme Court justices attended an intimate service on Wednesday to pay their respects to the Ginsburg family and reflect on all she's done in the court and for the country.
Her 483 majority, concurring, and dissenting opinions will steer the court for decades. They are written with the unaffected grace of precision. Her voice in court and in our conference room was soft, but when she spoke, people listened. I mentioned at the outset that Ruth's passing weighed most heavily on her family, and that is true. But the court was her family too. This building was her home too. Of course, she will live on in what she did to improve the law and the lives of all of us. And yet, still, Ruth is gone, and we grieve.
Reporting for SUTV News, I'm Megan Talley.
Next, Justice Ginsburg will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol starting tomorrow, being the first woman ever to do so. With the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Donald Trump now has the job to replace the legendary Supreme Court member, and he's expected to act soon with his replacement. But this decision does not come without drama from both parties. SUTV's Nolan Hoffman has the latest.
President Donald Trump says he'll announce his pick to replace Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in 4 days.
In my own mind, and I'm going to reveal it on Saturday.
As Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is locking down support on Capitol Hill, Trump is narrowing down his list, meeting with top candidate Amy Coney Barrett for several hours on Monday. Barrett is a favorite of religious conservatives who has already faced contentious exchanges with Democrats in the past.
The dogma lives loudly within you.
The White House is also in the process of scheduling a meeting with Barbara Lagoa in her hometown of Miami. Once seen as a possible frontrunner, she appears to have faded from Trump's favor through sources caution that could change.
She's terrific, and you have Judge Larson, and you know Judge Larson, who's very talented also.
Trump is narrowing down his list as Republicans are falling in line. Utah Senator Mitt Romney now says he supports moving forward on a Supreme Court pick, all but assuring Trump will have the votes.
It's appropriate to look at the Constitution and to look at the precedent which has existed since the beginning of our country's history.
There were questions about whether Romney would break with his party given he voted to remove Trump from office during impeachment, but today he sided with Republican leaders.
Liberal friends have over many decades gotten very used to the idea of having a liberal court. and that's not written in the stars.
Romney dashing the hopes of liberal lawmakers who were anticipating he could stand in the way of a vote by Election Day. Senator Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham says his committee will hold 3 days of hearings, which could come as many lawmakers, including Graham, are campaigning. If the president's nominee does get confirmed, one of the first cases to come before the court in November is the fate of the Affordable Care Act, which impacts at least 20 million Americans. The Trump administration still hasn't unveiled a replacement plan, despite Trump promising one for years. With SUTV News, I'm Nolan Huffman.
As COVID-19 continues to affect millions of people, the United States has recently passed a grim milestone. SUTV's Adam Beam has more.
COVID-19 has proven to be an unprecedented time, a global pandemic that for 6 months now has been terrorizing millions, shutting down businesses and schools, as well as trapping many Americans indoors. As of Tuesday, the U.S. has unfortunately surpassed 200,000 deaths due to the coronavirus. The death toll now higher than U.S. casualties in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Korean, and Persian Gulf wars combined. And it doesn't sound like this number will be dropping anytime soon, as the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation projects that we could be seeing an additional 180,000 deaths by January 1st. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has announced that COVID-19 is now the third leading cause of death in the United States. Dr. Anthony Fauci spoke out, saying that the number of deaths is very sobering, while President Trump told the press Friday that "I think if we didn't do it properly and do it right, you'd have 2.5 million deaths." As of right now, while vaccines continue to be tested, no cure is in sight. The only way to lower numbers right now are to stick to the prevention guidelines already in place, wearing your masks, washing your hands regularly, and socially distancing when you're with other people. And here at Shippensburg, as of August 1st, there are only 7 positive cases reported for campus. 3 are on campus and 4 are off campus. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
And just now breaking within the last hour, Shippensburg University COVID-19 cases have been increased to 9 cumulative cases and 5 active. A Louisville grand jury has made its decision in regard to the Breonna Taylor officer-involved shooting case. On Wednesday, the Jefferson County grand jury has charged Officer Brett Hickison with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment after the shooting of Breonna Taylor in March of 2020. Hickison was one of 3 officers that was serving a late-night warrant to Taylor's residence. A firefight ensued after Taylor's boyfriend mistook the officers for intruders. The officers then opened fire into Taylor's home, killing her. Hickison was the only officer to be fired from the department and faces a 5-year sentence for each count if he is convicted. As of September 24th, the other 2 officers have not been charged in relation to Taylor's death. After the verdict was reached for Breonna Taylor's case, outrage was sparked across the country, including Louisville, Kentucky, the site of where the incident occurred. SUTV's Tyler Danceson tells us more after a restless night of turmoil.
Black Lives Matter advocates took to the streets after the grand jury made the decision on charging one of 3 police officers with reckless endangerment. From coast to coast across the United States, peaceful protests on Wednesday night in opposition of the ruling turned violent.
Right there, officer down, right there.
2 police officers in Louisville, Kentucky were shot and now getting medical attention. Local law enforcement had this to say about the incident.
Both officers are currently undergoing treatment. We do have 1 suspect in custody.
26-year-old Larry Enzo Johnson has been arrested for allegedly shooting the 2 Louisville Metro police officers. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear called for the violence to come to an end in a press conference Thursday morning.
There will be many times over the coming days where there will be an opportunity to be heard, and so many people are listening right now.
President Trump also called Governor Beshear on Wednesday night, saying that if any federal aid is required, such as the National Guard, to give him a call. More protests are expected throughout the next several days as the Black Lives Matter movement continues to be heard throughout the world. From SUTV News, I'm Tyler Danceson.
The first presidential debate between President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden is set to begin on Tuesday. SUTV's Jacob Hitz gives us a preview.
For the first time in this election cycle, the 2 nominees for President of the United States will be on the same stage. Tuesday night's debate will explore 6 different topics under the moderation of Fox News' Chris Wallace. The debate topics include the Supreme Court following the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, race and violence in our cities in the wake of more protests around the country over the ruling from the Breonna Taylor trial, and the economy trying to bounce back from the damage the coronavirus brought forth. Other topics include the integrity of the election relating to mail-in ballots across the country, the coronavirus and the fight for a vaccine, and the records of both candidates. Each segment will last 15 minutes and were announced early to, quote, encourage deep discussion of the leading issues facing the country, end quote, according to the Commission on Presidential Debates. Presidential debates often have their moments that people will remember forever.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not?
What memorable moments will next week's debate bring? For SUTV News, I'm Jacob Hitz.
The first debate airs on all major news networks beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This Tuesday was National Voter Registration Day, and ShipVotes wants all students to be ready for this November's election. SUTV's Adam Beam tells us more.
This Tuesday marked National Voter Registration Day. The fourth Tuesday of every September is a day dedicated to encouraging those who haven't already to register to vote. And this year is considered more important than ever to do exactly that, as the 2020 presidential election continues to heat up. For the Republicans, you have President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence, and for the Democrats, you have nominee Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All over the country, Americans are encouraging their fellow citizens to register to vote, whether in person or by mail-in ballots. And the encouragement is strong here at Shippensburg as well. ShipVotes is a student organization dedicated to making sure every student here is registered to vote in time for this year's election. As ShipVotes faculty co-lead Uel DeLessa informed me of their goal, quote, we work to educate and engage students on campus through the voter registration process. We have visited over 20 University 101 classes so far this semester, presenting on the voter registration process in Pennsylvania and Maryland. We work with the athletic department to host voter education workshops for all student athletes on campus. Up until October 19th, ShipVotes will table twice a week in front of the dining halls and inside the Cub buildings, as they want to let students know that they have a resource on campus that can make a confusing process a little bit easier. Election Day this year is November 3rd, and every vote is gonna count. For SUTV News, I'm Adam Beam.
And finally tonight, at just a month old, the National Zoo's giant panda cub is already sending people into pandemonium. Saturday, the cub was looked over by a vet. The cub was weighed, measured, and inspected to make sure it is growing into a healthy panda. At just over 2 pounds and 13 inches long, it's still pretty little. A DNA swab was also taken. In a few weeks, that will tell zookeepers if the baby is a boy or a girl. The noisy little cub didn't seem to enjoy its examination very much, but it was reunited with mom just a few minutes later. And that will conclude this episode of SUTV News. I'm Bailey Cassada. Make sure you follow our social media pages at SUTV News and check out our website at sutvnews.org. Have a great weekend, everyone.